if folks are not seated, could you please get seated? And we're going to start up again for the afternoon. Thank you to Grace and Franzi and Laura and Roxana and everyone else who helped with lunch and helped getting us fed. So thank you. Okay, we're going to dive immediately into it with Justo Hidalgo for 24 symbols.
Hello, everyone. In this talk, I'm basically going to throw an idea, a kind of crazy idea that we're having lately, to see if it makes sense for you, makes sense to you, and if, well, at least to get some feedback. So basically, as everyone that has been in a company, in a startup like me, and many companies there, I'm sure you've faced crossroads, right? And when you face a crossroad and you take a choice, then it seems that some of the decisions that we thought you were going to make at the beginning, we just forget about them. In this case, it's something that, an idea we had in mind at the beginning. We had to forget about it because of some reasons, and now it suddenly came to us in a very pragmatic way, so I'm going to tell you about that. Just before that, some of you might know what 24 Symbols is, but basically we are a service to read and discover digital books that works on any device. It's a cloud reading service. You don't need to download the EPUB or the ePDF or anything like that. We have lots of discovery capabilities in the product. It works, as I said, in any mobile device, iOS, Android, whatever. And we work mainly on subscription services, but in general in all types of mobile monetization. So when we started 24 Symbols, we come from technical background, so we had this idea of creating a platform. And many of you are technical, but just to make sure we're on the same page. I like the idea of the definition of Mark Andreessen, which has been mentioned before. That platform basically is a system that can be customized by developers in order to, can you hear me? Yeah? Right, can you hear me now? All right, yeah. Okay, so basically, I was saying that when we created 24 Symbols, we had the idea of creating a platform. That was kind of our vision. We come from a technical background. So Mark Andreessen basically defines platforms in a very nice way for me, which is basically a system that can be customized by developers to create things that the original developers couldn't have thought about that or even had time for that. A platform, from a slightly technical point of view, resides in the middle of software as a service and information as a service. A software as a service platform, software as a service product is basically something you just use. You have a human resources department that needs to do human resources stuff. You buy or you subscribe to a software as a service human resources software, and that's it. You don't need to worry about installations or anything like that. That's perfect. On the other side is the information as a service. Basically, a company provides you with the basic resources to do something about that. But then you have to program absolutely everything else. You need to worry about billing, subscription models, everything on top of your business. A platform as a service is something that provides you with everything you need just to start worrying just about your business. You don't need to worry about scaling architectures, servers, data, billing, or anything like that. You just worry about setting that up and then starting to work on your product. So when we started working on 24 Symbols and working with the industry, we started to see that there were great projects like small demons, like Mob Notate, some of which were presented here, Read Apps, Read Social, Booklamp, that were great projects, but that basically were focused on the application environment. But they needed to create the whole environment, the whole infrastructure, in order to get to the point where they wanted to be. We thought there was something missing there. Of course, there's been some tries and some experiments in the industry. For example, Booksmart Challenge, where HarperCollins provided an open API to get access to their content. But that's an information as a service platform. You still need to worry about the rest of the things that you need to do. If you come from the research industry, from the research part, from the scholar part of the publishing industry, you see that there are many projects that try to do that and try to get information about the content and do research, content mining, all that stuff from scratch. One example is Medis. I don't know if you know about it. It was a small project, a small prototype from the University of Purdue. I had the luck to work there for a couple of years ago, where they were trying to create this platform for research scholars to have access to all the possible content for medieval documents and not worrying about anything else. They just needed access to the content and APIs to do whatever they needed to do. They didn't need to code any unnecessary stuff for the research. They're just looking for additional funds to continue working. So at the end of the day, this was the initial idea that I had like 2 years ago. The idea, and that's, of course, is not entirely new because other people like Hugh Maguire already had in mind and had been talking a lot about that. A platform where where you can have access to the content, you can have social capabilities, where everything is as open as possible, where you can have a social layer of interaction with the users and with the publishers, and of course with different business models that are implemented and available to go. That's very nice, but as any startup that is proud to be a startup, then we just run into a very nice situation called the Valley of Death, which means that we almost ran out of money. Then we needed to worry only about the things we needed to worry, which was get investors, get traction, get users, get publishers, get money. Of course, if I'm here, it's because we found an oasis after this Valley of Death. A little better than this oasis, but oasis nonetheless. And we started to work with a partner. It seems that this platform idea was completely forgotten. Okay, now we have money. We need to make more money because now we have bigger investors, and we need to convert this into a viable business. But it happened that what happened with the partners we got with these investors is that we started to work with mobile carriers. Basically, what we're doing is we're reaching deals with mobile carriers around the world in order for them to offer the cloud reading service into the regions. Okay, in some cases that can be a white label service, so it's not 24symbols, it's whatever carrier in a specific region. In other cases, is the carrier offers the 24symbol service to their subscribers. For us, that was a perfect partnership because they had access to millions and millions of subscribers, but we still own the product, we still own the relationship with the user, we own the relationship with the publisher. So, things were going quite well. The thing is that with that, we were kind of pushed and forced, and that makes sense, of course, to create additional business models to the original one that we had. We started with the freemium model, that's, the Netflix for books, Spotify for books, all that stuff. We continued doing that model. Actually, in some countries, we're going to launch with that model as well. But we also found another a model, what we call the book club. And just to summarize, it's basically a credit-based subscription service. So you subscribe and you get credits, and with those credits, you can access the books. Each book has a price in credits in each region. So we needed to, with this in mind, and now that we're about to launch in different countries, we kind of started to see that we were about to fulfill this original vision that was to provide, to give books and to let users read wherever they are. They could read here, they could read here, or they could read here, okay? The thing is that, this vision is very nice, but there's kind of a problem here and, headache here, because if you want to provide access to books everywhere, to every single kind of user, the world is small, but it's not that small, and there are lots of challenges that we need to take into account. So we needed to actually improve our platform, and from a 24symbols.com platform, we needed to start creating something much more powerful. That, just for you to know, we really needed to start working in things like, of course, improving the cloud reader, but creating components for each of the pieces that we had before, because the pieces needed to be changed from one region to another. The billing could be different, the localization could be different. We, of course, needed to start working really hard on reporting, on the sandbox for testing, of course. So, and of course, this was component-based because some of the things we did ourselves, but in some other cases, we had to partner. So we had partners, which could be technologies, but other, in third-party startups and companies that were helping us with that. The slides will be available, so I won't go into the details of explaining all this stuff. After this, then, is when suddenly all the things that we were thinking at the beginning about the platform and all that stuff came back to us. Because basically, that's what we're building. We are building a platform. We need to be able to launch services in different regions like this. We cannot afford the leisure of just spending 3 months every time we want to launch in a different country, because that's not how you work. You have a window of opportunity with the carriers, and you need to take advantage of that window of opportunity. So we again started to think about what if we actually build a platform, not just for us, but for someone else, for other companies to actually create products on top of our service. Of course, we're starting thinking of what is known as a level 1 platform, meaning that, okay, we'll provide APIs, and so that other people can use those APIs. But of course, a level 2 platform, meaning that other people could actually inject functionality inside of the platform, could also be interesting. And I'm thinking, for example, in content mining. So we could provide some content mining functions for research scholars, but of course, they're going to need much more complex functions than what we can provide. So why not even just inject those functions into our platform? But of course, we are starting from scratch. We're starting with this level 1. And how we're doing this right now? Well, REST, and basically, for those of you that know, it's starting to be the lingua franca of the cloud, allowing very simple interfacing and integration with any kind of service you want to collaborate or cooperate with. And very simply, we're using it already, so since we're using it, we're going to keep on going with that. Some of the things we are already doing, some of these we already have, or we're building them, is that we do have access to resources. You have access to information about users, public information, public comments, highlights, the public bookshelves that he has in 24symbols, the public books that he's read, et cetera, or the user status change that is notified to the calling application asynchronously. About the readings, what's the book stats, the page views for each of the books he's read, the regions, where he read, or at what time he was reading. All that information can be available from the REST interface. The same with editions, how many the books that we have in the catalog, the book that has been read, the stats about the readings. Jason was mentioning before some stats that he was using. This would be similar, for a specific book, the average percentage that is being read, the number of users per page. All that stuff can be available from potentially from the API. And bookshelves and other things that are quite important, the internationalization, something that you can change the internationalization and localization of the service, from a pragmatic point of view. And very importantly, the billing. People want to know how much money they're going to make, per author, per publisher, per carrier, per region, drill down. This is a business intelligence issue, but it's nothing new under the sun, but still is quite complex. These are some examples, not quite realistic of what we have now, just for the slides, but this is basically, examples of how you could access the information in the platform. So with this, basically, it was like, okay, so we can start providing or letting people get access to our platform, and it could be publishers or libraries, it could be schools or educational institutions, and of course, it could be startups as well. So they could actually create their own products from the platform. But we have many challenges, and that's why I wanted to ask you, because there are quite a few. There's technical challenges. Okay, that's our problem, right? But we had built what we believe a quite well-developed platform called 24symbols, just for us, and suddenly we need to be able to scale that to tens of even hundreds of instances, with what that means in terms of security. And those instances need to be interrelated, because a publisher wants to have a single dashboard with all the information from the different regions we are interacting and we're working with. So that's challenges. Technical challenges are quite high. Reporting and billing, I was mentioning, we need to interact with all the regions, all the instances. But for us, the most important, what we believe is the most critical one, is the legal and the rights challenges that we may have. Because for a platform to be really useful, we should be able to provide the content to the third-party companies that want to work with us. So we should be able to reach deals with the publishers, the content owners, so that they allow us to have the content and that content to be used by other people. So we know that's going to be quite hard based on some prior conversations, but still, I just throw it out and then let's see what you guys think. All legal, all right challenges are nothing if the business makes sense. So that's another thing that we're thinking about. What should be the business model of this? Should we just charge per usage? Should we charge per subscription? a one-off payment. That's something that we also need to worry about. And of course, about competition. Amazon could do this. That's the typical thing. Distributors could do this. I mean, they have the contacts with the publishers, the content, the reach to the audience. So that's also another thing to take into account. Anyway, since we're at the beginning of the presentation, there was the word pragmatic. We are being quite pragmatic about that. So the next steps for us are quite simple. We're going to launch our first services. The first services are going to be launching probably in less than a week. In Latin America and in Eastern Europe, and then another one or two before the end of the year. That's going to give us lots of feedback about whether we're doing a good job on this or not. And then we've already reached a deal with a master's degree in big data and platform as a service in order for them to help us by doing prototypes